There's some time for people to move into the hall, trickling in into the room. And as before, we'll take 10, 12 minutes or so, short period, just to settle in, steadying. Back to the simple form. So if you're sitting or standing, to firm your foundation. Sitting, it's going to be the pelvis, legs, upper legs, pelvis, tail, pushing slightly into the ground to help to create a slight bend, or in the lower back, very small. You get a sense of lifting in the lumbar region. Focus on the spine. Much more helpful to focus on the back of your body, because this is where the support is. The front of the body is sensitive, but the back of the body is the strength and the support. So you have to establish that first of all. And people don't normally notice their spines. It's the most important. Without that, you have no upper body. Yeah. So stroking your attention up your spine. So you feel your abdomen lengthen. Drawing between the shoulder blades, dropping the tips of the shoulder blades down, slightly turning the lower tip of the shoulder blade in to the back. Keep your arms slightly away from your chest. And connect spine to the breastbone with your attention, of course. So you create a stable form, and your breath, your breathing moves within that form. This descending breathing, the descending breath, energy descends, out breath. Down through the form. Energy rises with inhalation, opening, expanding the form. resting your attention in that until you experience a certain, the attention seems more strengthened. Naturally, there are karmic currents swirling around, moods and thoughts, impressions. Just to disincline from engaging with that, engage with the flow of the breathing. Let the heart, let the awareness be strengthened by that. And there's strengthening, extending awareness through the movements of moods and thoughts and the body. It's rather like turning a light on or moving a little lantern through a cave. Or you can also liken it to breath of fresh air through stale, smoggy room. It's smoky, just a breath of fresh air, breathing out through the floods or the congestions, accumulations, moving a light through fog, just shining. It's not aggressive, it's just radiating its qualities into the personal condition, bodily or psychological, emotional. Okay, so as you're coming into your place of practice, clear way, any questions, you can put them in the chat box and I'll try to address them. So first question, what is my view on the bright, pure light which can come up in during meditation. When the mind is calm and steady, and its energies become less distracted. So a lot of energies are used up in thinking and tangling. When that releases, then there's a lot more energy gathers together. This is the principle of samadhi. Through the release of obstructions, hindrances, through composure, the mind's energy unifies, and energy can manifest in, we experience that often as a subtle form of pleasure. That's an energy, there's a certain vibrancy. You can experience it as lights. Sometimes a certain luminosity occurs, or you can often experience it as a sort of silence, whispering silence. So these are just ways in which the subtle sensory system, subtle nervous system is affected by the power of meditation. One thing is also to not just get too fascinated by these phenomena or attribute some sort of supernatural quality to them. They're just like, like traffic lights, traffic signs. You notice them, but you don't drive into the traffic sign. You see a sign like lights or something, it probably means you're on a good path. Things are going well. But like, just as if you're driving along the road and you see a lantern that's illuminating the road, you don't drive into the lantern, you stay on the road. Let the lantern, it's great, but then don't get stuck in it. So you can go on, get over intense energies. So energy is a valuable property, but we use it for clearing obstructions, not to become something that we get fascinated by. And if you do get fascinated by energy, you can find yourself getting unbalanced. So to notice what factors are present, rapture, piti, calm, steadiness, and really that's your road. That's your road. The spiritual faculties are your road. The lights are just the side effects of the road. How does one deal with trauma from a karmic standpoint? Karmic standpoint. I don't know what a karmic standpoint is. People experience various severe disruptions. The citta's ability to release severe disruptions is has limitations. So normally when we feel a shock, there's a shock state, and everything's agitated, stirred up, and then there can be some sort of release, which is often sort of quite emotional. You might weep or shake around, or energy is released, then a discharge, end of that one. Now, if that doesn't occur, if that is not released for one reason or another, it's frozen, or one is not, feels too frightened to release it, then you get this effect, it gets lodged. And this is trauma. So these traumas are like little powerful whirlpools, small whirlpools in the nervous system. So if you go anywhere near one, you get sucked into it and spins you around. This is kind of what happens to people. And the simple message at least from a meditation point of view, is this is kind of likely to become manifest. Any of this can become manifest as you enter into the energetic system of the body, or in fact the energy system of the mind. So we feel a certain, I think most people sitting there and they find themselves getting obsessed with something or other. That's a whirlpool. It's a karmic whirlpool. Regrets, agitations, fears, anger, passions, suddenly sucked into something which wasn't so apparent in daily life, when the sense fields were giving you much more. You were much more attentive to the sense fields, sight, sound, organization, behavior, what to do. When you switch that off, you enter into the karmic fields. The mind drops the karmic fields. So these unresolved karmic whirlpools, currents and tides become more apparent. And they can have some somatic effect. Very severe ones are called trauma. And these are then a very powerful pull to them, so you don't want to go into them. And so so you look out for them getting pulled. They're not, you can't reason with them. You have to maintain bodily presence and stay out of them. So just as if one is standing in the ocean and you feel a riptide, you don't go into the riptide. You stand back and find a piece of territory you can stand firmly on when the riptide passes by. And over time, just standing, metaphorically sitting, being present near or in the vicinity of these vortexes, whirlpools, does weaken them, does weaken the pull. But overall, the fundamental message is to maintain awareness of the entire body, because the whirlpools are always local. That's their nature. They maybe arise in a place in your head or your chest. This is the usefulness of experiencing it in your body, because in terms of your mind, you don't know where it is. It just suddenly, woof. But in terms of your body, you can feel, whoa, I'm feeling really quite a lot of pressure coming into my face. Well, that's then okay. I mean, not okay, it's not fun, but there it is. So why don't I just feel what's happening in my feet instead, my back, my hands. So you pull out. And when you feel very strong, you can gradually approach the difficult area. So this rather like two rivers. If you have a major river with a stream, major current, and you have a minor river flowing into it, the major river will capture the current of the minor river. So similarly, the energy of the whole body will tend to gradually capture the energy of the traumatic experience and release it into its flow. This is by no means as quick or as easy as I've said it. That's the process, but it can take many months or repeated occasions to find a place with that, because these are quite often, you don't just have one trauma, you have nestle two or three. There's a lot of sort of covering over it to try to deal with it. So just imagine we've got a wound and you have a lot of tissue has grown over that wound. Sometimes you have to open the tissue up to get into where the abscess is. But we don't operate surgically, we're operating with loving kindness. So just where you feel reactive, compulsive, strange reflexes, where you're not really doing it, it just happens, that's a sign you've got a little whirlpool under there somewhere. It's pulling, associated with your personality function, your karmic history. But the person can't deal with it. They're the result of that. So we have to find a strength that is not personal strength, not willpower strength, not intellectual strength, but embodied Dharma strength. And building that up is certainly, you have to keep building that up over time to have the adequate resources to be able to meet these difficult experiences gently, a little at a time, and in a very open way. And sort of gradually energy will begin to move out, settle. Question from Daniel: lots of back pain in the middle of the night. Hard to practice when half asleep. Should I get up and practice metta? Sounds like a good idea. Maybe some exercise, some stretching or walking might help. I wouldn't be too fixated on having the sort of the, whatever it is, the 6, 7, 8 hours solid sleep. This is a notion introduced along with, work. It's probably better to have 2 or 3 short naps in a day, so don't worry about losing your sleep. Kind of lightly address what needs to be addressed. Question is, if there's no self in Buddhism, who is supposed to be putting effort into the right efforts? Citta, heart, is what does that. So you've probably got a language problem there. In Buddhism, we call self is an acquired set of programs to do with ownership, control, social organization, holding everything together. So it's a particular program that citta adopts. It starts off with, well, doesn't, there's a tendency, that's how we got born, and and the fundamental tendency is to be in an individual, to take birth as an individual entity, a separate entity. Now, this is not possible because every entity is connected to the atmosphere physically, and the world around them. They inherit the effects and the good and bad effects of other people. We are not independent entities. We're actually not selves. We're chittas, and chittas are permeable, and they exist within the realm of cause and effect. They've got this latent tendency to become a person, an individual, separate individual. So therefore it gets born into a sense body where you've got a definite outline to it. So it seems like a solid separate thing. And then based upon that, all kinds of psychologies and attitudes come up. I'm here, this is me, that's mine, that's not mine, I'm this, you're that, comparison, I'm not as good as you are, I'm better than he is, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm this age, and so forth, all this stuff. And I want to do this, I don't want to do that, so individual choices. And this is based upon, self-interest. What's good for me. Now we have to work from that, because we do recognize that actually that's the program, but it doesn't arrive at fulfillment. We're always trying to find out what's best for me, but we're not really getting some good results, but also it's constantly effort to try and get that self happy. And it only happy for a little while before it has to deal with something else or meets another problem. Because being an individual, you have to meet other individuals who think they're separate too. So you've got a whole planet full of beings who assume they're separate. Well, that's going to be like billiard balls clashing around on a deck of a ship, just crashing into each other, and not realizing actually, we're all there's a sort of interconnection there, and the interconnection is called cause and effect. As we affect each other, and our heart feels better when it opens up and is not so self-interested, but mutually. How are you? How am I? How is it going to work together? We feel love, we feel generosity, we feel happiness, and we set a sense of morality to others as to myself. Now, this is using the same language, but we're coming out of that sense of being an individual entity, and therefore what this being does is no longer so self-interested, but more attuned to where is virtue, where is kindness, where is gratitude, where is generosity, where is clarity. I'll do that. This is citta, then, is aligning itself to values rather than to historical person. There's nothing, my virtue is not something about me as a person. It's just same as yours. You don't have a individual take on non-violence. Non-violence is something we can all do. And these are then citta qualities, heart qualities, and so this is that focus, that center of intention and attitude, then acts as the guide. And sometimes it means that it says, well, you have to let go of something, not just have it your way, because for the general welfare of others, it's better that you let go of that. Okay. Because this is going to die. And so you think it's happier to live in harmony than to live selfishly. So, we move. So, self is a series of programs that the citta gets organized into. So as it gradually releases those, then we come to a truer center than that of the isolated individual personal self. So someone asking, I gave offer and invitation with the intention of goodwill. When it was turned down, I felt the sourness at the heart. Any advice on this? Yeah, well, you can't overestimate the value of equanimity. So it may be that when you offer goodwill, the other person isn't interested, but still you offer goodwill. So if it's an offer, then it's free. That person doesn't have to receive it. It's free. So don't get involved with other people's responses and reactions. So if your intention is follow your intention, it's goodwill. Other person sees it differently. Perhaps they felt you're intruding on them. Oh, I don't know. So take note. Before realize with other people, you are touching into another karmic configuration, another set of people's karma. And all that karma has different qualities to it. What I enjoy, you may not enjoy. What I find interesting may not interest her. What I find myself inspired by, he doesn't find himself inspired by. What I find humorous, he doesn't think is funny at all. What I think is normal, she thinks is very strange. So, you've got to be really respectful, even when your intentions are good. You can, I mean, I've certainly offended people with good intentions by not having enough uh, restraint to see if actually how it feels for them. Maybe they feel I'm barging in. Um, so it's always, excuse me, is this, may I? And say, no, thank you, fine. When feelings come up from hearing a word or when reading, that is, the heart is touched, is it right to just stay with the feelings as feelings until it fades away? Well, here we have feelings here, I imagine is sankhara. Feeling is the quality of pleasure or pain, and that's mixed up with emotion. And emotion is a sankhara. It's got a certain volitional um, energy to it. And so if you pause on that, add to it, the energy will tend to fade away. Now, as you subsequently ask, is it necessary to reflect or inquire as to what that experience was about? I don't know if it's necessary, it could be useful. Right? Why am I so affected by that? What's happening? Maybe it's just there. No, I am affected by that. Then you notice something about your own karmic sensitivities. One is sensitive in this respect. Why is that useful? You know what you're working with. You know who you are. You know your citta, where your citta is sensitive. Not just what you should be, but what the citta is affected by, what the heart is affected by. And you're actually reading it, and the only way you can kind of work with your karmic sensitivities is to be aware of them and let them speak, let them arise and pass. And the citta, it learns by itself. You don't have to do anything about it. The citta will feel what it feels. Things move, things shift and change. Citta gets wiser through that process of knowing how it's affected. Trying to be not affected by things is kind of a numbing. So we do get affected, but we don't have to be reacting to that and feel affected, and just stay with that. And citta will learn something by itself. Suddenly feel a lot of pain I didn't know existed in my body. They're not severe. Also, I suddenly felt like crying, feeling there's some weight on my chest. I do have a closed body with curled round shoulders, lots of mental pains. Any further instructions? Like some more guidance? Make a special video. Well, I've touched on this topic many times, actually. So, yeah. When you experience these pains in the body, some are just because of the physicality of the body, some is this, because of what I call somatic experience. Somatic experience means the inner sensitivity of the body, how it, and it's associated with one's emotions very much affect that. So characteristically, lots of emotions land and affect the body, and we don't always clear them. So they remain stuck there. And in fact, they can begin to pull your body into twisted shapes. And so all this is happening purely reflexively without your mind knowing anything about it. It's just what it does. And so that's why we're establishing these standing, sitting, walking positions and gently sweeping through the body, easing it, and practicing loving kindness, metta, and allowing the body to open up and release some of its tangles in its own way, and you can't rush it. It's not self. It means you as a person can't say, stop this, do that. What you can do on a personal level is establish the 4 establishments of mindfulness, the 4 right efforts, the 5 spiritual faculties, and then you just let them do the work. And it may take time. You don't exactly know how they're going to do it. Yeah. It's like you go to a doctor, you say, fix this. You may think, okay, well, take one of these, come back in 2 weeks. Come back in 2 weeks. Okay, I'll massage this bit, come back in 3 months. We'll do this for a year or so, take a diet, and this will, you don't know how long it's going to take. But if you trust the doctor and you see the doctor is well and healthy, and you trust their approach, then you practice it, you go with it. And this is the Eightfold Path, and the Buddha is the doctor. It seems all very personal, but it's just, this is karma, karmic effects. There are occasions when defilements are gross, anxiety and anger. The mind goes to the felt sensation and watches it subside. There is no investigation to the cause of these defilements. Later, upon gaining some stability, when the mind is still, I notice subtle inclinations of the mind and investigation occurs. Should I be aware at the gross level and avoid what may be the habit of focusing away the disease, or allow the mind to do what it does anyway? Sounds like the mind is doing what it should do. That is, I suppose, the sense of when the mind or the heart can allow things to, is watching in the right place, and the phenomena subsides after a while. One in a way has some degree of, citta has some degree of mastery over those phenomena, so they're no longer reacting to it. Then it's like, okay, now we can look into it, look into the causes. Also, when do these phenomena not arise? And what's present? What's present when they arise? Or what's absent when they arise? Absence of calm, perhaps absence of the entire body, absence of mindfulness. So then then you begin to know, oh, that's that feeling, that sort of blurry, here I go, that sort of speedy feeling. This is dangerous. This is when the hindrances come in. And that's how you learn. Often we're acting in ways that don't seem problematic. We're just running on automatic. Yeah, we'll do this and do that. And then we're believing in ourselves, believing in our person, running on automatic. I think, yeah, I'm fine. And suddenly feeling make a mistake, get bossy or irritable. And where did that come from? It came from running on automatic. But you didn't notice running on automatic because it feels normal. But running on automatic is the flood. And sometimes the flood itself doesn't feel problematic until you find as a rock comes along in that flood, which is what it brings up sooner or later. It starts off as easy and casual and normal and natural, and then you find yourself hitting some difficult stuff. but it arose out of the flood of the person. Now, means you don't have to be anonymous. It's a matter of establishing mindfulness over actions, what occurs to you, how you're affected, and your responses. So it's very intimate, but we're clear. We have clarity rather than just not noticing and running on automatic. Then you'll find that these problems will not arise. Or if they do arise, you'll notice, that's where I lost it. Mm-hmm. You know, got a bit lazy or a bit careless, and then this stuff happens. Question: being in a place of presence feels stable. Transitioning back into the karmic realm is a challenge. I fall back too quickly into the swirl, and mindfulness spills too readily away. Is there a pathway that can steady that return? I'm talking of walking out of the stilled retreat space and into the daily life. Well, this is kind of the big question, isn't it? So that's why you should practice moving in and out of the karmic realm gently and by degrees, repeatedly. So every time you finish a meditation session, then just coming out slowly, a little bit at a time. So you get used to the transition, and you get the citta to learn before you start doing stuff. Body, where are you? And then notice the sense consciousness, eyes, seeing. Don't go into the mind immediately. Give yourself 20 seconds before you open the mind door, before you open the door of what to do and what happens next. Can you do that? Can you allow yourself 20 seconds? Before you start organizing what to do next. So don't go into the mind. Don't open the mind door. Don't fling it open, and don't come out like, running off the starting blocks. Now you practice this every meditation session. You've got to get that habit, that process pretty much ingrained. Learn it. And if you learn it, it may be that you don't need the 20 seconds. 20 seconds is not that long, and you can save you a lot of stress. In daily life, maybe 10 seconds. And do it repeatedly throughout the day, just pausing and where am I? So the main thing to watch for is not so much before the thinking gets going, is this leaning, an inclination into about to or what next. That inclination, what I better get on with the next thing. Better get on with the next thing. And so be careful of that. Don't. So that naturally there will be a next thing. It's going to happen. It's not like we're living in a frozen void. Something's going to arise. Prepare you. How you open? First, you open by establishing yourself in your body. Shift from obligation to act. Move away, let go of obligation, and pick up responsiveness. I'm not compelled to act, but I wish to act. Yeah. When you act in the karmic domain, remember there's more than, you're not the only one there. You're entering into the shared karmic domain. It means, how is anything else? How's the other people? So we kind of move in with a sense of circumspect, don't rush in. Yeah. And restraint, of course. So sounds tough, sounds difficult, but this is eventually it becomes more established. But it is difficult because nobody else is doing it. So they're all rushing and charging and shooting around like cannonballs. And you need to, in a way, give a signal like, oh, thanks very much. Could you just give me a moment on that? Yeah, I'd like to, I really, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I want to get around to that. Just give me a moment. So instead of this kind of ricochet jumping backwards and forwards, you want to be able to put some gears on the way you interact with others and asking them, could you give a moment to think about that? Oh, that's really important. I hear what you're saying, so I'd like to give it some time to turn that over. It means you respect, but you're just slowing down the speed of it all. Okay. Oh my goodness. Lots of questions. Citta and manas. Difference between citta and manas. Citta is the affective heart, emotional. Manas is the organizing, thinking mind. Citta deals with direct felt experience, feeling mood, feeling touch, feeling inspired, feeling angry, feeling happy, interested, really eager, not interested at all, responsive, fed up. All that's citta. Clarity, wisdom. It's this is citta. Manas is the organizer of plans. And Tuesday morning, I'm going to do this. That's a manas experience because there's no such thing as a Tuesday morning. I don't see them anywhere. Where are they? Citta is always direct, here and now. Manas is conceiving abstractions for the purposes of functioning. In practice, you can use them by bringing up a manas thing like be mindful. That's a manas, says that. Because where's a mindful? I don't see any mindfuls, but it's a reminder. So it means the citta, oh, right, that. So you can use your abstract knowledge to encourage, remind, touch citta. Just take a break. Just take a break. That's a manas instruction. There's no such thing as a break. I don't see any breaks. But it means the citta, that citta understands that, and relax. So they work together. Okay, another question. Some compulsory tendency in cleanness with myself, especially so during this time, virus bacteria. So sort of cleanliness, obsession or compulsive. If I break a precept, I also feel there's a dent or stain in my citta that I have to clean them. When something cannot be cleaned yet, there's the stress. This is psychological thing, the urge for clean and pure. And yeah. And as we know, there's a lot of dirt around. So the conditioned realm, it's not cleanliness, I mean, it's kindness. Kindness towards the conditioned realm. Acceptance of it being how it is. Nature, is it clean or dirty? Trees, are they clean or dirty? Earth, is the earth dirty or clean? It's earth. Trees are trees. They're not clean or dirty. That doesn't fit. They're what they are. Yeah. Now, for a human city dweller, earth on the kitchen floor is dirt. For a farmer, earth is money. For a worm, earth is life, which is true. I think earth really belongs to worms. Yeah. You may think worms are dirty, but worms are just worming. So once we kind of find ourselves the citta taking up these attitudes, it's going to be conflict. And and realizing that things can never get that clean. Clean is helpful for health, absolutely. As human beings, we like that. But in broader perspective, what's more useful is goodwill, compassion, and understanding. So, what's a compassionate way to treat a body? Maybe keep it clean, but keeping it clean from a place of compassion and kindness, so it remains healthy. Then you transfer it to the mental states. If you've broken a precept, then the citta feels dented, and that's true. And then because of that dent or that stain, if you like, and this is the language that's used, you need to return to that with a mind of goodwill. Let the goodwill and wisdom clean the defilement. So that was wrong. It gives rise to this effect. It gives rise to stress and suffering. Refrain from such action in the future. And the stain that's left, breathing in, breathing out, accepting the presence of that, relaxing, brightening, putting bright energy through that place, putting loving, bright energy through that place in your heart, calming, equanimous, making a determined attempt to not act in such a way again. Then you become wiser. And also you can accept the defilements of others. You don't like them, but you realize what they are. I just want to address one more. I struggle with breath meditations despite many years of practice. At best, I can be aware of the whole body and feel the ease of the out breath, but often I get tangled in the breath and feel like I'm controlling it, and it becomes stressful. Yes, I can relate to that. So I don't, I refer to breathing in and out regularly, but within the context of something wider, which is the cultivation of embodied awareness, the cultivation of goodwill. Because these will help the breath rhythm and the mental attitude to be more harmonious. So the breathing gets taken over. It's connected to the nervous system. So our nervous imbalances affect the breathing. And one of these is control. Control because of anxiety. We're in a world with a lot of anxiety. This affects the breathing. We're in a workplace situation with depression. That affects the breathing. We're in a situation where there's pressure, urgency. That affects the breathing. So, yeah, I mean, psychologically, you can't breathe in because breathing in is expansive. And we're in a situation where on some subtle level, we feel sort of compressed and holding ourselves together. So I don't go to the breathing at the start. The body responds to signals, somatic signals. So if there's signaling, you've got to keep signaling to the body, as a reminder. Check out, do you feel safe? Do you feel open? If you don't feel open and safe, you can't push it. You've got to check out. It's placed in my chest. That can feel open. Anything holding me back? Space around is benevolent. So just keep working on establishing the body very fully in a comfortable, safe space. So you're cleaning out these signals that we inherit, or the body inherits, in the karmic and social domain, which is pressure, control, compulsion. And so this, we don't realize it now, thinking mind, but that affects the body on a reflexive level. Everybody's jumping around, and so it picks up that, gets in the startled effect on a kind of subliminal level. So you've got to get out of that startled effect into something expansive, strolling on a beach, sitting at the root of a tree was the book you put image the Buddha used. Plenty of space, protected, nice, firm, natural shading thing, given, a given, rather than something I do. And doing is one of these very triggery places in meditation. Because we do things, but also there's a not doing. And this is what I call the gift. We enter the practice with a sense of what is the gift. You don't have to do it. And the gift, in very simple bodily terms, is there's ground beneath you, given. You don't have to be good, clean, tidy, just, moral, anything. It's a rest upon that sense of that. Space around you is given. You're welcome, whether you're stupid, ugly, brutal, you've still got space around you. Now, if you are deliberately stupid and brutal, you'll probably find your mind doesn't open to the space because it's so tight in itself. So this encouragement is to come out of that, any kind of controlling attitude and compulsive attitude, because you're fine. No pressure. No pressure. There's no pressure to meditate. There's no obligation to meditate. Meditation is a voluntary activity. So get into that, which is not derived, personally constructed, and let your body sit in that. And feel it, the whole body, spine, chest, the abdomen, skin, the arms, the throat, the face, all just in that. And as it gets more settled, you might notice, am I breathing? Is it breathing or not? Is it not breathing? No, it's breathing. How is that? It's the subtle flow. So receptive to breath rather than pounce on the breath and focus on it and count the numbers. We're much too proactive. Your attention then is gripping, and you might get the sense of having to do it. And these energies, these emotions, have an effect on the body's field. So how you meditate. If you're meditating from the way one's normal mind, it's often got a lot of got to get this done. Be good at it, hold it carefully. If it's important, get focused on it. This is the worldly conditioning. And so you've got to reset how you use attention. So it's a soft, receptive. Am I breathing or not? Yeah, just be with that. However it is. Don't go into details. Keep the whole body and then feel the breathing as it is and get to enjoy it. And it will give it time, it will find its own pattern, its own pattern. Most important thing is, we're not breathing. It's not just a physical thing. We're looking at breath a very holistic way. So it's the mind, mental state is also got that light, flowing quality to it. The body state is open and light, flowing. Breath's going to be light and flowing. If your mind is too intense, your breath's going to be intense. Your body's tight, breath's going to be tight. It's a holistic experience. That's why it's a great teacher, because if your breathing's going strange, it means something about attitudes, aiming for results, trying to get this right. Sounds good, but look what it's doing. Do you need to do that? To breathe, you don't need to get it right. How is it? No, you learn in this way. I think I'll just someone mentioned being in touch with a little child within. When I say no to people I see as authority figures, even my grown son, I come in touch with huge confusion and being lost in distress. Yeah, as I said, the person arises. When you experience the person becomes a frightened little child. So that frightened little child has to be sensed with a mind of goodwill. And then what triggered it seems like something felt overwhelming, authority figures. So it's the sign, the signal of bigger than me, power over me, can control me. That's the signal. If any of us gets those signals, bigger than me, control me, take over me, we're going to get either small or we're going to get starting angry, depending on karma. So check the signal out. The signal is not the person. The signal is our mental interpretation of that person. And admittedly, human beings are good at giving those signals. I stand tall, I wear my uniform, I speak in this voice, excuse me, man, but this is, and there it is. But still, in one way, it's just some person, human being with flesh and blood and whatever. So you just check this. Once you know the signal, check the signal. And that's just the signal. Can you allow it to rise and pass and not get reactive to it? Then the person doesn't have to get born. The little child doesn't have to get born. You don't have to be a person created by the world around you. You can be autonomous. That's practice. So I'll pause there for today. As I think you're aware, I can't always address every single question, but I bear these topics in mind, and I hope that many of the talks I'm giving do touch into these areas of shared concern. And thank you for your practice. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for responding. Take care.